If you've ever been to Japan, you know the smell. That sweet, smoky aroma of grilled eel, unagi. It's so much more than just a dish. It's a huge part of Japanese cuisine, a delicacy people absolutely love. But, behind this incredible meal is a wild story about a mysterious creature, a multi-billion-dollar industry, and a tradition that's now right on the edge of disappearing. So how on earth did a 5,000-year-old food end up on the endangered list? Well, let's get into it.
So this right here is kabayaki. Just look at it. The eel is split, deboned, and then grilled over charcoal, while it's brushed over and over with this amazing sweet and savory glaze. And when it's served over a hot bowl of rice, wow, it's an experience. It's way more than just food. It's a cultural icon. It's the taste of summer for so many people, and it's a tradition that's been perfected over hundreds and hundreds of years. And when I say old, I mean ancient. The story of unagi isn't just a couple hundred years old. Nope. We're talking about a relationship between Japan and the eel that goes back more than 5,000 years, all the way to the Jomon period. This is not some new food trend. This is a connection that's about as deep as it gets.
So how did we get from, a prehistoric snack to the beautiful dish we see today? It was a really long journey. For thousands of years, eel was just simple food. Then, fast forward to about 700 years ago, and it finally gets the name kabayaki. But things really start to look familiar in the Edo period. That's when they figured out the technique of splitting the eel open. And then, the game changer. Around 1785, someone created that incredible sweet and savory sauce. That's when modern kabayaki was truly born.
And the origin of the name itself tells a story. The very first version, where they just skewered chunks of eel, looked a lot like the tips of a plant called the broadleaf cattail, or gama in Japanese. So they called it gamayaki, which over time just morphed into kabayaki. You can see what it looked like on the left. It's a whole world away from the elegant fillet we know and love today, isn't it?
Now, to really understand why this dish is in trouble, we have to talk about the creature itself, the Japanese eel, Anguilla japonica. Because for most of human history, this animal was a complete and total mystery, a ghost.
I mean, really think about that for a second. People saw eels in their rivers. They caught them, they ate them, but nobody, and I mean nobody, had ever seen them reproduce. No eggs, no baby eels. The great philosopher Aristotle even thought they just spontaneously burst out of the mud. For centuries, it was one of the biggest unsolved puzzles in all of biology. The answer was finally found, but it took a monumental effort. We're talking a 36-year-long search. Then, in 2006, Japanese scientists finally pinpointed it, the spawning ground, a single spot in the deep Pacific Ocean, thousands of kilometers away from Japan near the Mariana Islands. Just an absolutely incredible piece of scientific detective work.
And this discovery blew the doors open on the eel's life cycle. And what they found was truly epic. It's not just some swim up a river, it's a multi-stage transoceanic migration that is almost hard to believe.
Okay, so the journey starts way out in the deep ocean. The eggs hatch into these bizarre leaf-shaped larvae that just drift on the ocean currents for months. As they get closer to East Asia, they morph into these tiny, totally transparent glass eels. These little guys then swim up rivers, where they live for maybe 5 to 15 years, growing into the yellow eels we'd recognize. And then finally, they transform one last time into silver eels and begin that impossible journey all the way back to where they were born to spawn once and then die. It's a one-way trip for every single generation.
Now, here is the most important part of this whole story. Every single farmed eel that ends up on a plate starts its life as one of these little guys. A wild-caught glass eel, scooped out of the water as it arrives from the ocean. We have never, ever managed to breed eels in captivity on a commercial scale. The entire multi-billion-dollar industry depends 100% on catching these wild babies every year. And that complete dependence on a wild, mysterious creature, well, it's led us right to a tipping point. This beloved cultural tradition is now facing the very real threat of blinking out of existence. So this is where our story of culinary art and natural wonder takes a really sharp and very worrying turn. The sheer scale of our modern appetite has pushed this ancient species right to its breaking point.
To give you a sense of the pressure we're talking about, just look at this number. At its peak, back in the year 2000, Japan alone consumed 160,000 tons of eel in a single year. That is a staggering amount of demand to place on a wild animal whose life cycle we're still trying to fully understand.
And the consequences? They were immediate and they were stark. From that peak of 160,000 tons, the supply just fell off a cliff. By 2017, it was down to around 40,000 tons. This isn't some little dip. It's a catastrophic collapse of the resource, all because the number of glass eels showing up on Asia's coasts was plummeting.
And the world started to notice. In 2014, it became official. The Japanese eel was listed as endangered. That's the global scientific community formally saying this species is facing a very, very high risk of going extinct in the wild.
So what happened? I mean, why did a creature that survived for millennia suddenly end up on the brink of collapse? Well, the answer isn't simple. It's a tangled web of environmental changes, human development, and a really shadowy black market.
There's really no single villain in this story. Of course, overfishing the glass eels is a massive part of it, but so is habitat loss. We've built dams and weirs that block their path up the rivers they need to grow in. Then there are changes in ocean currents, maybe tied to climate change, which can mean the larvae just never make it to the coast at all. And then, layered on top of all that, you have a huge problem with illegal fishing and a very sophisticated international smuggling network.
And if you want to know why that black market is so powerful, it comes down to this number. At its peak, a single kilogram of these tiny, transparent eels was worth over $27,000. That made them more valuable than gold by weight. And that's the tragedy here. The immense love for unagi creates this powerful economic incentive that fuels the very illegal trade that could wipe it out for good.
So how does this whole pipeline work? Well, on paper, the rules are pretty clear. Countries like Japan, Taiwan, and China have strict regulations to protect their own eel stocks. But the reality? It's a completely different story. There's a massive smuggling pipeline. Eels are caught illegally in one place, then laundered through ports like Hong Kong, which doesn't even have its own eels, before being shipped off to farms across Asia.
Okay, the situation sounds dire, I know, but it's not hopeless. Scientists, governments, even the eel farmers themselves are now in a race against the clock to try and find a sustainable future for unagi. The ultimate goal, the thing everyone is chasing, is what's called complete aquaculture. It's basically the holy grail for the industry. It means finally cracking the code, being able to breed eels from egg to adult entirely in captivity, so we can stop taking any glass eels from the wild at all.
You can think of it like this. Right now, we are totally stuck in the green cycle. We have to catch wild eels to get things started. The goal is to create the blue cycle, a totally self-sustaining loop where the eels we raise in captivity produce the next generation. Now, scientists have actually done this in a lab, but making it work on a commercial scale, well, we're still a long way from that.
So, while we wait for that huge scientific breakthrough, what are we doing right now? Well, there's a whole bunch of efforts underway. Countries are trying to cooperate on setting catch limits. There are new rules that ban catching the mature silver eels when they're trying to swim back to the ocean to spawn. And we're seeing projects to restore river habitats and build things like fish ladders so eels can get past dams. It's really a fight on multiple fronts.
Which really leaves us with the big final question. Can a 5,000-year-old culinary tradition adapt to a 21st century conservation crisis? Can this deep, powerful cultural connection find a way to coexist with the needs of a species that's on the very brink? The future of unagi, both the creature and the incredible dish, really does hang in the balance.